I am Chylli from channel Chylli, also known as Try, and we are back for more Limbus Company, continuing the intervalo. This time we are continuing at level 20 photos. After the battle, things sits ill with me. Amid the sprawl of Escort's backstreets, distorted with the flash, Engdu had her gaze fixed somewhere high overhead, and at the end of her gaze are those photographs. A long line stretched across the open air, photographs hanging from it like a laundry clipped to a clothesline. I mistook it for a Boomjil at first and gave it little attention. Yet upon closer look, I saw those photos. I saw these pictures hanging from the line. Perhaps they had been strung within the dark room and remained thus when the distortion took hold. Bizarre. Observation of unaffected elements in the space occupied by a location-type distortion is most irregular. Indeed, the items we bore from the studio have already changed into images of various sites of S Corp. Yet these alone remain as they were. Let's take them down and check them for ourselves. Just as I was wondering if the line was almost too high for me to reach, Merceau stepped forward and plucked a few photos off it. And the instant he brought them to me, we heard another pop, and again, a bright white flash blinded my vision for a moment. Good grief, this distortion likes to change its mind. Keeps switching between S Corp and N Corp. This feels like getting caught in a flashbang detonation. My whole body tenses up and then goes slack right after. The other sinners are busy grumbling about the distortion and its sudden jumps, except for Merceau, who stood right in front of me, with the photos still held out in his hand. Oh, you didn't drop them. No. He gave his usual short answer, then returned his attention to the cylinder he had been shaking. He took the film out of the container and flaked the liquid off it with clean, controlled motions. Is the processing finally done? Wait, we're back here with the lights on now. Is it okay to take the film out? Yes, exposure to light will not damage the film once development is complete and the image is fixed. There is no cause for concern. That's a release. I couldn't say I followed all the technical details, but no cause for concern was all I needed to hear. Sighing in relief, I held up the photograph so I could take a proper look. So, see anything odd in there, Manager Bud? There are people in them. The people in the photographs all look different from one another. If I had to pick one similarity between them, though, they all looked cold and indifferent. Yeah, that's the city, alright. Ordinary folks you'd see anywhere. These aren't like the photos we picked up at the studio earlier. Are these the kind of photographs they use to make canned experiences? What was that? The scenery around us seemed to ripple just now. I was about to ask Faust if she'd also sensed the strange sensation, but it faded away soon enough. Perhaps it's nothing serious. It was just a smell of random vertigo. Is it even possible to get dizzy when I have a clock for a head? No. Merceau must have noticed that I was out of sorts for a moment because he seemed to pause on purpose before answering my question. No, I thought you said docugraphers take these photographs to put into canned experiences. Raw ingredients for canned experience are handled exclusively by the Grand Magician. Decipher. There's no known method for external parties to access them. Decipher? What? Oh, I think I've heard of it. Canned experiences, right? They're in high demand in other districts too, but the only brand stamped on them is Grand Magician since Decipher. Same name every time. I remember some of my classmates bragging about trying them whenever exam weeks came around. Never had one myself, though. I can't really explain it, but something about them feels kind of wrong. It's that popular, huh? The unprocessed base contents of canned experience, known as experience batter, is supplied to reprocessing factories where oh my god, I can't pronounce this word. Docugraphers fine-tune the experience's details. Photographs are primarily used for that purpose. They can fine-tune experience. An easier example for understanding would be to consider why docugraphers take pictures of subjects such as buildings. A purchaser may wish to experience living in a luxurious building that they could never afford. Another may wish to vent out impulses of violence by experiencing the burning of an expensive property. Demand for haute couture and experience is increasing by day. So that's why the photos from earlier were all fancy buildings. Yes, manager, conversely, information concerning ordinary experience that can be easily encountered in reality is in low demand. Then why photograph these residents at all? Perhaps these were not images harvested for their commodity value, but pure photography in and of itself. Mayhap they have been captured for a desire to seize a vanishing instant through a lens. There are people who take photographs knowing that it would cost an exorbitant sum. I've seen some before. A staggering amount of money just to take a single photo. That is, if they could even manage to find a photographer who'd take the risk and help take the picture. I'm not so crass as to put a price on sentiment and nostalgia, but spending this much money on film rolls, what could have made this investment worth it? I'd say, maybe this isn't just a matter of sentiments or memories even. Leafing through the photographs, I quietly expressed my thoughts. Executive manager. I'm not exactly an authority on distortions, but I know they manifest through desires or emotions that become warped in bizarre ways. But everything the distortion has showed us so far points back to S Corp. That is, the S Corp from the past that only Kim and Angdu would have seen and remembered. These photos, though, they're completely untouched by the distortion. Doesn't that feel off? There must be a strong fixation at play here, strong enough to slip past even a distortion. And if that obsession is something that refuses to let these memories be influenced, I think our next step should be to look for the people in the photos. These photographs are the only undistorted, unaltered clues we have. Dante says it would be advisable to locate the people shown in these photos. Good idea. Team leader did say we should accept input from the LCB with open arms. Hey Angdu, can you get me the office catalog? We'll probably need to commission an office affiliated with the Seven Association. Let's look for one that can take the request right away. Can someone tell Ezra we're fine? I think I know where to find these people. Dante says one of the people shown in the photos has already been found. What? When? How? Well, guess I'm just having a lucky day. I pulled the radio from my waist and switched it on without answering Ezra's question. DWRC? I think she said Dewey regroup clock. That one was especially hard to understand, Ryoshu. Rhodia's with you, right? Can you put her on? Okay. Rhodia, you there? What, Dante wants to talk? One sec. I kinda went overboard with the bread and pastries. My hands are completely full over here. Pastries? What kind? Just one of everything. Neat, can you grab some extra brioche and baguettes for me too? Love the ones from that street, they're so good. Hold on, I gotta readjust the pile if I wanna... Just throw them on TF, they're packaged. Yoshu, you can't treat food like that, Kay. Bakers have feelings too, you know. How do you think the baker would feel if they knew someone was treating their precious babies like trash? This scabbard is rattling again for no reason. Anyway, Dante, can you give me a sec if you need me to fight? Just need to cram these into my pockets real quick. No, it's not a fight. Then what's this about? I took a closer look around the words written on the wicker basket in the first photograph Mirso had brought me. Where's that bakery you're at? Apologies, I needed to take a drink of water. I know who you're looking for. The owner of the bakery was a woman holding the same wicker basket as the one in the photograph. She took one glance at the picture I held up for her and gave a quick nod. This man, he works in Cannery 17, right next. He's a regular. He used to drop by every morning to buy sandwiches to share with his co-workers. Haven't seen him around lately, though. And those co-workers, I assume they were wearing the same uniform? Asking the question on my behalf, Otis showed the baker another photograph. Probably. He was always wearing one too. I guess it's the cannery uniform. This confirms our lead, Executive Manager. The few inquiries of the cannery should bring us the information we need. Yeah, you're right, but it's just that she doesn't seem very concerned at all. She's one of the people in the photos that weren't affected by the distortion, right? That should be a close acquaintance. Allow me to verify, Executive Manager. You know the name of the regular you spoke of. His name? Am I supposed to know that? Though I wasn't expecting her to actually know his name, the apathy evident in her voice gave me pause. He took a photo of you. Wouldn't it be reasonable to assume you're well acquainted with him? Oh, that. The baker's demeanor changed when Otis pressed the point. She gave a strange, unsettling smile before pulling something from her apron pocket. A thin and round, can-like object. He said he'd give me 5 of these canned experiences for free if I let him take my picture. Even said he'd throw in the docograph for the building of my choice. He docographs buildings, right? I hear he even takes work trips to the nest every now and then. So I asked him to get me a docograph of this lovely mansion I saw in the next nest suburbs. I know I'll never get to afford a beautiful place like that, but this way I could at least experience what it's like. And gosh, it was everything I'd ever hoped for. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but there was a distinct eeriness in that dreamy, blissful smile on the baker's face that sent a chill down my spine. Young Mirso, are these canned experiences truly possessed of such marvels, to pluck all semblance of reason from one's countenance? They maintain high demand across the city. District 14 is only one of several markets. Dost thou mean that thou who indulge in canned experiences may experience venturing on an expedition to the Great Lake, and bungee jumping off the summit of that skyscraper yonder, as they remain seated where they are? They may, however. Magic can, allowing one to pursue any dream the heart may conceive. Verily, I confess my own soul is much tempted. It differs from pursuing a dream. Mass-produced canned experiences are made from base experience matter mixed with various modified information. The resulting end product enables intense simulation through altered memory. Therefore, it is unlike the dream as expressed by Don Quixote. A piece of memory refined along the numerous processing stages of the cannery's production lines is not equivalent to genuine experience, meaning the usage of experience in our previous statement must also be amended. Memories altered for intense stimulation. That does sound quite shady. How doth this cast a shade upon the boons granted by the can? Adventures and tales are, forsooth, inclined toward a little grandeur. It is because the memories provided by canned experiences are extremely vivid. Statistics have shown that users of cans interpret them as authentic experiences and become dependent on them. A possible cause of the formation of dependence patterns is that canned experience allows one to feel as if one has achieved a dream that is, in reality, impossible. Art thou implying that the users are made content with devouring forged dreams, stored in instant-use cans? Worse still, the user may no longer strive to chase dreams in the waking world. For the sweeter and more splendidly a dream is embellished, the more impossible it will appear to be grasped with one's own hands. To become a cause for surrender, instead of inciting one to march forth, verily doth it not annul the significance of dreaming itself, if the resultant dream rouseth not the spirit to gallop toward it? Whether that annuls its significance, I cannot know, but they sell well. So how much will you be buying? Buy what? You come barging in with all these questions, and I was patient enough to answer them politely, wasn't I? Don't you think you owe me a sale or two? You're not about to leave without buying a single loaf after crowding on my bakery and scaring off my customers, are you? Her case was on point, actually. With our whole group gathered around, the passer-by gave us a wide berth and hurried on, whispering among themselves. Nobody was about to come in and buy bread like that. Come on, lady, I practically cleared your shelf already, didn't I? You did? Where the hell are you keeping all that, then? Do you even have to ask? Of course I already had some, and the rest is safely tucked in my coat pockets so we can all share later. So you already ate some. Let's buy a little more. It's true we scared off the other customers. Understood. Given that the expense is made to facilitate the operation, the lack of prior budgeting should not pose a problem. Oh nice, sesame rice bun for me, please. It was Kim. He really did have a knack for making an entrance at the least expected moments. Hey mister, where have you been the whole time? Wait. Be cross with me all you like, would just give me a moment. Ezra paused, waiting in puzzled anticipation, only for Kim to take a sesame rice bun from the baker's hands and chomp into it. Alright, I'm ready. Frickin' waste of bread. Ezra's angry fist drove straight into Kim's solar plexus, folding him to the ground like a crumpled sack of potatoes as he rolled away. At this rate, the owner might start charging us for the whole bakery next, roof and all. Best get away from here. Manager. Merso approached me as we walked down the street, with Ezra and Kim still squabbling behind us. He was holding a roll of something brown and tightly coiled. I've completed development of the film per your instruction. Oh, so this is the film in the canister you were shaking. Do I just unroll it? Hold it up against the sun or other sources of light, as it is a reversal film. The images should be visible as they were photographed. I had no idea what a reversal film meant, but I did as he said and unrolled the film. Okay, I can see it. That's pretty cool. Is it showing? Can I see too? Move it over a bit. Let me have a look too. It was hard to make out the details because the images were too small, but I could still tell this strip was packed with almost identical pictures. Is this the same person in every shot? In the same pose in all of them? You're right. No, wait a second. See the arm here? The further along the strip you go, the lower it gets. Yeah, and the head looks like it's turning to the right. We were all squinting up to the tiny frame on the film when Sinclair suddenly flinched and went stiff as if he had seen something he shouldn't have. A second later, all color drained out of his face. Sinclair, what's the matter? This reminds me of something I learned in school. You draw a picture in the corner of a stack of notes or a thick book in the exact same spot in every page. You start with the arms down, then you make one small change on every page. Nudge the arms up higher and higher until they're raised all the way up. And when you flip the pages fast enough, the drawings stop looking like separate images. The still figure starts moving. That class was called Introduction to Motion Pictures. I remember the teacher saying that video footage we watch are all made the same way. Are you saying that this is a continuous sequence of still images? The arrangement of the frame suggests this film strip is highly likely to constitute footage, a violation of N Corp's taboo. Oh crap. As soon as I registered Merce's words, my hand reflexively threw the film to the ground. Are we going to be okay? We might have just broken a taboo. My mind began to race, rapidly traveling back through our journey, specifically to the time when Don Quixote had smashed that window at N Corp and caused the wing to wipe out our team multiple times over. I felt faint. At least we had Virgilius with us then, and it ended up not being that big of a deal at the end of the day since I could revive the sinners, but some nest taboos can get us in serious trouble just for carrying anything that has to do with them, can't they? I hurriedly turned toward the sinners, many of whom looked every bit as troubled as I felt. Still, a few of them expressed a casual lack of concern, citing all the crazy things we've gone through so far. Miss Faust, what'll happen to us if this gets the manager killed? Okay, so this is it. Stop freaking out, guys. They're not dying and we'll be fine. N Corp's not gonna kill you on the spot just for possessing a film roll. Really? Well, it might be a problem if the film roll does contain genuine recorded footage, but it's not like you guys had a hand in filming it, right? When N Corp dudes get here to pick it up, just comply with their commands. Thank them for their service and nicely hand it over to the authorities, and everything should be a-okay. There is a possibility that everything will not be okay, because I've developed the contents of the film roll in the dark room. The court will take the lack of intentionality into consideration, however, it is very likely that my actions will be deemed as aiding the primary violator of the taboo. Really? But team leader said that N Corp has their own regulatory standards regarding image quality, which they will use to determine the severity of taboo violation. If the footage's image quality or frame rate is within regulations, N Corp won't be sticking their fixers on our butts right away, and that could buy us some time to give our company some leverage to make a deal, however small it might be. Because what they're really sniffing around for is how close to reality the video is, or how close to an experience it provides to real life. So even if we're really, really unlucky and they actually come for us, it's going to be fine as long as the footage is low fidelity. Probably. So what exactly does frame rate within regulations entail? It means that the interval between each frame shouldn't be, like, super brief. Think about photo slideshows. They only show you one image every few seconds, so it doesn't feel real or vivid, right? You can technically call them motion pictures, but there's no vividness required to violate their taboo. Then let us analyze the film roll and see how vivid it really is. Merceau, I trust you are knowledgeable in subjects concerning N Corp, yes? Cooperate. Could this film roll be considered a violation of the taboo? Otis picked up the film off the ground and showed it to Merceau. That cannot be determined, unless each frame is thoroughly analyzed and compared with adjacent. Without waiting for Merceau to finish, Otis unrolled the film roll and raised it against the sky. The rest of you, get over here. We must analyze these frames. The film canister was labeled experiment, so I assume the culprit had created this as a test run of sorts. An experiment to see how close they could get to violating a taboo, and testing the limits of the law. It may even be a mere collection of similar photographs that are pretending to be recorded footage. The sinners all gather around Otis and look up toward the unrolled film in unison. Here, the flower pot moves between frames, doesn't it? The docugrapher couldn't possibly have moved the pot while also holding down the shutter button. I don't see any difference. See here, the expression risen on the subject's visage appears rather stiff. Maybe they're just a gloomy sort. Perhaps, yet observe closer, the stiffness arises not from gloom, but from strain to maintain it. If that's the case, maybe the subject really is trying to fake an actual footage by moving very, very slowly. That's a pretty convincing theory, but I'm not sure if that's enough to conclude that we're in the clear just yet. That's when bamboo-headed Kim, who had been sprawled out on the ground ever since Ezra punched him, stepped into the conversation. Let's see. Look at the shadow cast on the windowsill. See how it noticeably shifts between each frame. Whoever made this knows their craft for sure, but I can't imagine a Backstreet dweller would have any way to mess with the sun's trajectory. Then the likely scenario must be that the creator of the film roll deliberately made a subject move very slowly from frame to frame, creating a series of disconnected photos that, when played sequentially, would look like footage that violates the taboo. In which case, this film roll does not violate the Nest taboo, correct? That is highly probable. So he says, Executive Manager, we should be in the clear for now, at least in regards to aiding the violation of a wing's taboo. But if he was willing to go through this much trouble just to test N Corp's patience, it's hard to believe you'd have stopped here. Based on all available evidence, Executive Manager, it seems reasonable to conclude that the inflection point in this case is a taboo violator on the run. But what motive would they have to do that? Sure, working for a wing subsidiary has nothing on being an actual wing employee, but it's still pretty up there when it comes to careers available in the backstreets. Work for a subsidiary long enough and you might even get transferred to a factory job in a nest. That gives you a pretty okay chance of a better life, so maybe you was just tired of living that kind of life. Everyone has one of those days, don't they? The sudden feeling that you could be doing more than live the rest of your life in 9-to-5 hell. The drive to do something that takes you away from the pressure of trying to make a life. Something about what Ishmael said must have tickled bamboo-headed Kim because he suddenly whipped around toward her and shook his head. Maybe, but how many of those people do you think are capable of throwing away everything they've built on a whim? From what I've seen, maybe our culprit just likes to play with fire. Play with fire? Yeah, must have started by doing something that technically doesn't count as a taboo, and inched on and on until he brushed thrillingly close to one. One thrilling shot through the camera, and another with the next, until eventually he ended up recording actual footage. Cool, then that leaves the question of what the heck was he trying to do with it? Might have been trying to screen it using a projector for all of this part of the backstreets to see. But wouldn't that make everyone here, even those who unwittingly came across the projection? Right on. It'd have made all those folks violators of the taboo. But why would anyone... So would you care to explain how you know that, Mr. Beardbrand? Mr. Breadbrain, Jesus Christ, I am dyslexic. I asked around on the opposite street, and apparently some guys ain't going around asking the workshops if they could make him a projector. Seemed like most of them turned him down, but they also said that he stopped showing up after a certain point. Fair to guess he got his hands on a projector somehow. Alas, is it not a taboo of N Corp to view recorded videos? Pray tell, why would anyone in a sane mind... Well, it ain't taboo if you only made a projector in it. Backstreet's blokes are down for anything, long as there's coin. So how do we track the guy down? Multiple individuals in the same garb as the pinframe team have been identified in the vicinity. They are all carrying the same briefcase. Well, isn't that convenient? Maybe we can play this like a festival or a convention and just hail people who look like they're involved with what we're looking for, so they'll lead us to wherever we need to go. Indeed, at architecture conventions, there would be those in formal plaid shirts and suspenders milling about, and I could always trust them to lead me to the convention venue. And was it common for those plaid shirt fellas to look around like they're scanning the area? Did they also go around checking people against photographs? Or collect evidence, please advise for... They also radioed each other, glaring at people like they're glaring at... Perhaps you could answer that series of queries yourself. No, this crowd sure doesn't look like they're gonna let us follow them. Alrighty, combat time.
무레배들 아름다운 것 그렇지 않은 것
効果的な攻撃でした
이 순간이 다 베어내리라
감내 확보.
Yeah, so far this video, we're making really good
このま
time.
まいけば敵を食い止められます
무레배들
Don't want to stagger him before I get a chance to clash.
부탁하죠. 오케이. 다음 목표로.
敵は深手を負っています
이 죄를 새겨주겠어.
Alright, these guys aren't too hard generally. I should have put Thora Calgia. Should have put that on Faust as well.
뺀다면 사활을 건다.
귀와 요격, 함수, 정민화.
ダンテさんの作戦
귀와 요격.
とても効果的でした。
몰아떨굴 수밖에.
다음 목표로.
그냥 5배.
육천.
Alright, and these guys are almost dead.
죄를 새겨주겠어.
그려낸 대로. 몰아떨굴 수밖에.
And there we go, another really easy combat down.
돌아오고 있어요. 뒤틀림에서 다시 사람의 형상으로. 살수의 방식으로는 절대 도달하지 못했을 결과일 테죠. 이젠 좀 알 것 같네요. S사로 떠나기 전까지 제가 향꽃을 피워볼까요?
About 2/3 of the way there now. Wait, I want to go back and put Thoracalgia on my Faust here.
우리는 정처 없이 떠도는 떠돌이, 흙에 내려앉지 못한 씨앗. 언제쯤 정착할 수 있을지.
뛰어가겠네.
I feel like there was more poise, ego than that.
リンバスカンパニーの皆さんとご一緒できて本当に嬉しいです。
And I forgot to borrow support Ishmael, of course I did.
아직 안 끝났어. 내가 곧 당신들의 원망대로 끝모를 우물이 되면 잊고 싶은 무언가를
There we
마침내
go. That should be a lot better now. Now we're actually ready to go through this thing.
敵が来ます。皆さん、戦闘の準備を。
시연합니다. 그 삶의 마침표를
敵に対して大きな打撃を与えました。 ドクターのように優れた式ですね。
이어
敵は深手を負っています。
뺀다면 사활을 건다.
그렇지 않은 것.
감문 확보. 이어 부탁하자. 어디?
敵は深手を負っています。
물의 배들. 방수가 이어졌다면
육참. 골단.
ダンテさんの作戦とても効果的でした。 これが必要な戦いであれば。
물의 배들.
부탁하자. 어디?
방수가 이어졌다면 이어졌다면
I'm really excited to see what the next Walpurgis Not event has.
그냥 5배!
원망도 옅어지나.
敵は深手を負っています。
발권 차단. 비와 요격 함수. 전수가 이어졌다면 비와 요격 몰아 떨굴 수밖에.
처음으로 숨통이 튀었던 순간을 기억하는. 지금이군요.
원망도 뉘우친 게 소용이 없었으니 그저 무언가를 찾으려 애썼을 뿐.
これがリンバスカンパニーの戦闘。
혈이
また
낭자오.
一つ学ばせていただきました。
Well, this is complete overkill.
죄를 새겨주겠어.
이 순간이 닿도록 베어내리라.
다음 목표로.
And there we go, easy victory.
돌아오고 있어요. 뒤틀림에서 다시 사람의 형상으로. 살수의 방식으로는 절대 도달하지 못했을 결과일 테죠. 이젠 좀 알 것 같네요. S사로 떠나기 전까지 제가 현장 추리팀에서 무엇을 배워가면 좋을지.
Alright, well, that is where I'm going to... Yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it off for today's video. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and next time we will probably finish off the rest of the Intervalo. So yeah, until then, bye!